So this is my Canon TC-80N3. It is their OEM first-party intervalometer remote release trigger for all of their professional and semi-professional cameras, so not the bottom or entry-level stuff, but my R5s, 5Ds, 1Ds, R1s, R3s, etc. all use this trigger. Mine is almost 15 years old at this point. I think these run for $80, $100, something like that. They're not cheap. Of course, you can get cheap third-party ones. But over the last little bit, mine has, well, actually for the last several years, I've noticed mine has been starting to have problems. Specifically, when I turn the rotary encoder here on the side to change the number of frames or the timing or whatever, the settings don't change all the time. Sometimes they'll go backwards, sometimes they'll go forwards. It all kind of, it's weird and random. And so today we're going to attempt to fix this. Now, the reason I think I can fix this has to do with how this works, or how these work. And obviously I haven't completely taken it apart and just dissected the device itself, but the rotary encoder is actually pretty simple. Internally, there are a pair of contacts or wipers. Usually they're going to be copper, or they could potentially be carbon, etc., something like that. And they are running on a disc or a cylinder of the alternative contacts, or the other side of the contacts. And the copper pads and the copper wipers are all oriented or arranged in a specific way so that they produce a signal that there's two outputs. They produce a signal. They use a thing called quadrature encoding, if you want to look it up, like on Wikipedia. But basically, it allows the microcontroller that is receiving the signal, or whatever is receiving the output from this, to understand that the position has changed and in which direction the position has changed. And if you sample it fast enough, or you can handle it frequently enough, you can also measure how fast the encoder is being turned. But in this application, that doesn't matter. The camera isn't, or the TC-80N3 isn't actually concerned about how fast the encoder is being turned, only that it has been turned and that which direction it has been turned. And the way that this is behaving, the problem that I'm running into, leads me to believe that the contacts, either the wipers or more likely the contacts on the disc or cylinder that is being rotated, are oxidized or dirty or something to that effect. And so in theory, we can fix this problem by by simply cleaning the contacts. Now, I should note, if you have one of these and you're experiencing this kind of problem, the symptoms that you want to look for is that the increment does not change every time you turn the dial. So it should have a one-to-one switch. So it should be at, whatever setting you are, say 0 frames, and when you click the dial up 1, it should go to 1 frame, and when you click the dial down 1, it should go back to 0 frames. And this should work all the way around the encoder. One click on the encoder should give you one increment or decrement of whatever setting you're adjusting: frames, seconds, minutes, hours, etc. If it's skipping things, or it's going the wrong direction, or it's not working at all, then that is, or it's working intermittently, then that is a good indicator that your contacts in that rotary encoder are oxidized and are not in good shape. They're not making good connection. So to fix this, we're going to use this stuff. This is DeoxIT. It is a contact cleaner. It's sold for audio stuff, but it can be used on switches, potentiometers, basically connectors, basically anything that you have a contact happening between two electrical surfaces and the system isn't necessarily working as intended. So in the case of the rotary encoder, because we are expecting, and I can say this, I know at this point because I've already done this, I'm shooting the intro after I did the video, but I know that it is using mechanical wipers on to work or to close the circuits to generate the signal. That cleaning them, getting them deoxidized, is going to make the system work correctly. So with that said, let's jump over to the workbench, take a look at how I took this apart, what I needed to do, and how I got this working again. We're going to need a couple of tools to get in. So I'm going to break out my toolkit, and the tools we need are going to be a I think it is a J000 Phillips driver, and one of these electronics device pry bars. So on the back of the TC80-N3, there are 3 screws. One's here, the other 2 are up here, and here, slightly covered by my piece of Velcro. So I'm going to pull out these 3 screws. So I can begin to take this apart. 3 screws are out. And I'm going to pop out the battery. And I've already looked at this, but the way that this is put together is that the bottom latches into and under the top. So you're going to push in and pry out on the bottom to get the top to pop out. At least I think that was how it was. Take it back. It's the top. It's the top that has to push in to pry out on the... It's one of the 2. I'll get it in a second. Yeah, so the bottom has little tabs on the outside. You push in on the top to get it to open. Bottom, battery door, and there we have the insides. Really complicated for what seems like it should be so simple. So we're going to take this out, 4 more screws. And I think what's happened, given the way that the thing is behaving, is that the wipers or the pads or surfaces that they connect to have gotten dirty or oxidized, and therefore don't conduct properly, and that's why the whole thing is very intermittent. And so what I'm going to do, and I have no idea if this is going to work, but I am going to just try to liberally inject with the DeoxIT the contact cleaner solvent into the terminal on the wiper and see if I can't get it to start working. Because the worst case scenario here, if this doesn't work, is it doesn't work and my thing's hosed anyway, so. I can't really, in a very real way, can't really break this any more than it, already is. And, hopefully if I could fix it, I could save myself from having to, you know, buy a new one. So the LCD is not completely happy, but we're going to see if we can't do something about that too. Okay, let's try partially reassembling this and see if we were at least marginally successful. And we are very successful. So I'm going to put this back together so that I don't have to keep trying to hold the battery on the contact, and I will show you the results in a second when I get it back together. But that was absolutely the problem. The wipers in the encoder were oxidized or dirty, and it was simply a matter of cleaning them out or getting them cleaned with DeoxIT to bring this all happily back to life. And there you go, that is your solution. If you happen to have one of these, getting this back together is a little bit tricky. If you happen to have one of these and the contacts don't work anymore, or the rotary encoder isn't working correctly anymore, I should say, a little bit of DeoxIT squirted in on the encoder, and that will fix it. I will also recommend, I tell this or talk about this every time I do a video working on something. Usually it's been trains, but anytime I do a video talking or working on something where you're driving screws into plastic, always remember to back the screw or turn it backwards until you hear it fall into or feel it fall into the existing threading in the hole. Otherwise, when you drive the screw in, you will cut new threads, and then you will weaken the plastic, and eventually that will all fall apart. So, with my battery back in the holder and my device powered on, and let me zoom in so you can see. Now, if I click the button, okay, there's like one or two positions where it doesn't rotate or doesn't increment correctly. But that is way better than what it was doing, which was like going backwards, not working at all. And this will probably even clean up a little over the next, as I use it. And of course, I have DeoxIT, still have the can, so if I need to redo it, I can redo it. So with that one said, this was a TC80-N3 Canon. Although there are third-party ones, they probably work the same way. If you have one of those and your encoder doesn't work correctly, that's how I fixed mine. That said, I hope you found this useful, or at least interesting. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button. Also, if this kind of thing seems like it might be your kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Finally, if you'd like to help and support this channel, you can help us for free by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and leaving a comment with your experiences. Likewise, you can support us by hitting that thanks button or buying yourself something you've always wanted from one of the affiliate links in the description below. And as always, Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.